Hello, my dear students. I'd like to welcome you once again in English 808 for the vocational education. We're going to start with Unit 7 and the lesson will be writing. Which writing exactly? Explaining a process. By the end of this lesson, we're going to achieve three main objectives. The first one is to identify transitional words, to identify the layout of explaining a process, and to explain a process. To start with, the first objective, as I've said previously, we're going to start with the transitional words. What do I mean by transitional words? Transitional words, they are the words which help to connect and link ideas, phrases, sentences, or even paragraphs. So it helps the reader to move or to jump smoothly from an idea to another. Here are some examples of transitional words. Let's see together. Additionally, or in addition, they both have the same meaning and they're both used to add ideas. Likewise, or similarly. Here, if you want to compare or say the similarities between two things, you could use one of those two transitional words. Let me add now, after that, or then. If you want to jump from a step to another or from an idea to the next one, you could use one of these transitional words. Plus or besides, they have the same purpose. You can use them to add ideas or phrases or sentences. It depends on the thing that you are doing. Explain a process. Let's think of a process. What are the things that I could use processes at? Now, let's see. Installing a program, downloading an application, signing up for an email account. For example, if you want to sign up for an email account, there are some steps that you have to follow in order to do one. So, there are some steps which come before the other one, or after that, or next. That's why you need to use the transitional words as well as the steps. I'll give you an example to clarify what I have explained. The steps of a process. Before you explain any process, you need to write the steps that should be taken in a process. That will be like a mind map to help you. For example, these are the random steps that I have wrote just to clarify the idea. Step 1, make sure your mobile device is updated. That's the first thing that you have to make sure about. Step 2, install the program into your device. Step 3, create a username and a password. These are the three steps that I have to follow to create a username or a password in any process. There are two arrows that I'd like you to pay your attention to. The first one, I have linked the two steps together using the transitional word also. And I have used the transitional word then in order to clarify that step 2 comes before step 3. There are some tips of explaining a process. There are some tips that you have to follow in order to explain a process. I'll help you with some tips. The first one, you should write in 3 paragraphs. You start with an introduction, then the body, you finalize at the conclusion. Each paragraph should include transitional words. Don't forget that you are explaining a process, which means you have to mention transitional words to make it easier for the reader know what to do before the other. Start, as I have said, start with the initial steps, starting, then with the details, the body has the details, and finish with the final steps, which is the conclusion. This is just a recommendation. Use a flowchart to plan your process. it would be way easier if you write the steps in a flowchart. Then you can refer back to the flowchart in order to organize your ideas while writing. Let's do an exercise together, and here is the exercise. Here is some jumbled steps of the process of downloading a video on your laptop. Rearrange these steps and link them using transitional words. You have 4 jumbled instructions or steps. Read them and try to reorder them. For example, here we have the first one. Click on install and the application will be downloaded. 2. Before installation, there are few things to check, like the internet connection and so on. They are jumbled. Pay attention. I'll give you 2 minutes. Try to reorder them. Let's check the answers together. The first one. Before installation, there are few things to check, like the internet connection. Transitional word, then. Second step, open the store, which is installed on your mobile device. Let me add another transitional word, which is after that. Let me just draw your attention to this. You could replace this transitional word with anything else. So you could use next instead of after that. As long as it doesn't confuse the steps, you are fine. You can use any transitional word comes into your mind. Let's move to the third step, which is write the name of the application that you want to download. Finally is used to clarify the last step. And the last step, of course, is click on install and the application is downloaded. I'll restructure this at the next slide, and this is the proper structure. I'd like to draw your attention, my dear students, that there has to be a full stop before each transitional word and followed by a comma, and then you write the step. This is the example that I'm talking about. Pay attention, after the word connection, there is a full stop, then, comma, open the store, and so on. Now let's move to the next objective, which is choosing the topic about a process and explain the process about it. Here we have chose creating an email. And I'm sure that you all have an email and you all signed up following certain steps. Let's see. Think of the steps. Let me give you just a minute. Write down the steps that you have to follow in order to sign up for a new email. Let's check the answers. Steps of creating an email. Step 1. Make sure your device is connected to an internet connection. Step 2. Log into the internet and write the website name at the browser. Step 3. Once the page is opened, click on Sign Up. Moving to Step 4. Enter the information required, like your first name, the gender, etc. Step 5. Create a username as well as a password. I'll give you an advice here. Make sure the password is strong. As I have mentioned previously, that the second paragraph, which is the body, should include as much as possible details. So include the details or advice if you have, or it could be even recommendations. The final step, which is step 6, once your username is ready, you will be able to use your email. Now, we will put those steps that we have spoke about or written in a proper paragraph, starting, of course, with the introduction. Put the steps in paragraphs. Paragraph 1, give a brief introduction. Now, what was our topic about? Creating an email. What could you say in general about creating an email? Let's see. Creating an email is one of the important tasks that are done in some steps. Follow these steps to create one. This is more than enough. You just give a very brief introduction about the topic, and then you tell the reader that he has or she has to follow these steps in order to achieve the process. Let's move to the second paragraph. As I have mentioned previously, you need to use transitional phrases into the body or into the second paragraph. Let me start by mentioning that the transitional words here, as you can see, are highlighted in blue, starting with the word before. Before you take any action, make sure your device is connected to an internet connection. Full stop, use a transitional word to show the next step. Then, log into the internet and write the website name at the browser. Full stop. After that, as I said, you could use next, you could use then, you could use later, it depends. Click on Sign Up and enter the required information like your first name, your gender, etc. Now here I'm mentioning that we are about to reach the final step. Create a username and a password, or as well as a password, make sure the password is strong. If you have different or extra recommendations or advice, you could add them at the second paragraph. Moving to part 3 or paragraph 3, which is the conclusion, here is where you have to finalize, sum up, and conclude your paragraph. Finally, your email account is ready and you're able to use your email for sending and receiving emails. Just give me a purpose about the process that you have discussed. What are you going to do now? You can use it for sending and receiving emails. We are done now with the paragraph. I'll just give you a very simple task like further practice for yourselves at home. You can explain a process from your choice. Choose anything and you can write a process about it. Now, make sure that you follow the structure from your book. Which book? It's Project Success Level 2, English 808. You'll find the layout or the structure on page 112, 112. Don't forget to include transitional phrases. We come to the end of our lesson now. I hope you understood and you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon in upcoming lesson. Thank you. Goodbye.